The show's entitled Trump is boldly walking into a rigged debate. Isn't that so cool that we have a candidate in President Donald J. Trump that he just keeps moving, right? I mean, this is the part about Trump that I think you either love or you don't love. The man never stops. And he's always thinking, he's always moving. If ever there was a person who was definitely taking advantage of every moment of his life, that would be Donald J. Trump. This is a perfect example. When has Trump ever, in the history of Trump, ever shied away from a fight, from a debate, from anything? He has met challenge after challenge after challenge, and he knows the odds before he ever gets involved. That's the uniqueness, I think, of President Donald J. Trump, and how that kind of, sets itself up against, not only Joe Biden, which, once again, child's play, right? Because what is Joe Biden? What is the manifestation of Joe Biden over a history of 50 years in politics? What has he ever really, truly accomplished? We can go through a litany. You go to Ben Shapiro's page. He talks a little bit about what has Joe really done as a public servant. It's never been about you, the public, or me, the public, that he's serving. It's always about Joe Biden. And that's not uncommon in the political world, amongst political candidates or amongst elected officials. But Trump, obviously not a politician, wasn't a politician before he won the presidency. And still to this day, I don't consider him a politician. I considered him to be exactly who he was before. He was this manifestation of a person who never looked at the odds and said, I'm not going to be able to take that on. I think he loves the challenge. Obviously, that's why he put down the gauntlet and said, anytime, anywhere, any place. Anytime, anywhere, any place. Yeah, something like that. But I think that this is what we're looking at right now. Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, Trump is preparing. And how is Trump preparing? Well, in the same manner that he has always prepared. He's out, he's at rallies, he's talking to people, he's going to events. How is his opponent preparing? Well, nobody really knows, other than he gets a daily debriefing, security debriefing at 10:45 every day on a laptop, or not a laptop, but you know what I'm saying. One of those, what is it called? Hold on. I gotta have Ryan jump in here, because I have no idea. What am I trying to say, Ryan? What's that thing that you have that's iPad? His iPad.
Yeah, his little debriefing iPad. Yeah.
He has a debriefing iPad. There he is, Ryan Mac. I brought you in before. I was partway through the monologue and I was getting tongue twisted, so I had to bring you on.
That's Ryan. Okay. It's what I'm here for. Juicy up in a cocktail, just like Joe.
Oh my goodness. That's when we're going to get into that. But here you have, obviously, Trump, unique to any other president that we've ever had. And they're all unique, obviously. If you go back and you look at how people, your wife is saying that she loves your shirt.
They do. There's so much suckage in the liberals right now. So much of it.
Yeah, and okay, I can never talk about Trump without shaking my head. No matter what comes after him, he just keeps fighting for us. That's from my wife. Here's your wife. Dan Bongino was speaking a ton about this on the radio today. He said Trump was going up against a 3-1 despite, and that's where I want to thank you, Amanda, for bringing us there, because that's where I want to go into this fairly quickly, because we can talk about it, I believe, for the entire hour. But I've got a couple other things that Ryan, and you might have something that really stuck out to you in the last 4 or 5 days that you might want to bring to the stage. Yep. Obviously, and we can hit upon that. But yeah, I mean, Bongino's right. Obviously, I know I listened to a little bit of Dan today. When I can catch him, sometimes I have good runs of Dan, and then other times it gets interrupted with phone calls or challenges that I might be having in the day. But I did hear Dan talk about 3-1. And one of the things that I want to definitely highlight today, this is Trump is boldly walking into this rigged debate, is what I've got up on the screen right now. And I'm just going to pop it up there real quick and add it to the stage. And this gentleman to the far right is Dana Bash's husband. And if you don't know who Dana Bash is one of the CNN moderators with Jake Tapper that is going to moderate the debate on Thursday. And of course, there's a whole host of rules and engagement, and mics being muted or cut off while the other person is talking. They have the ability to be sitting. Now, I heard something that it sounded like they were going to be behind podiums. Obviously, Biden had an opportunity to choose whether he would go last or whether he would be on the right or the left. And I think he chose the right, which is ironic.
Better side.
Yeah, there's nothing right about Joe Biden. But this is Dana Bash's husband, and I think you've got to hear this because this is just fascinating. This particular gentleman, Jeremy Bash, and this is what he had to say. And this isn't very long; it's about 1:20.
This looks like Russian intelligence. This walks like Russian intelligence. This talks like Russian intelligence. This effort by Rudy Giuliani and the New York Post and Steve Bannon to cook up supposed dirt on Joe Biden looks like a classic Russian playbook disinformation campaign. That assessment, by the way, is not my assessment. That's the assessment of the Trump intelligence community leadership, who in August of this year put out a statement saying that Andrei Derkach and Russian intelligence were trying to denigrate Joe Biden. And then the next month in September, Steve Mnuchin at the Treasury Department put out a statement saying that Derkach is a known Russian intelligence operative and has been for the last decade. So when the intelligence community goes in and warns Donald Trump that Rudy Giuliani is being worked over by Russian intelligence, and then Rudy Giuliani suddenly comes forward with these mysteriously created emails, probably hacked through a Russian intelligence operation, we have to acknowledge the fact that the President of the United States is supporting, is condoning, is welcoming a Russian intelligence operation in 2020. Nicole, this is collusion in plain sight. We don't need a special counsel. We don't need congressional investigations. The president is acknowledging it and welcoming it with open arms.
So collusion with Russia. So I'd like to point out, what two presidents let Putin take part of Ukraine?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Obama and Biden.
Oh, okay.
Well, the interesting part about this is Jeremy Bash, being Dana Bash's husband. Dana will moderate Tuesday's or Thursday's CNN debate with Trump, takes on Biden. Jeremy signed the now infamous Hunter Biden hoax letter along with 50 other intelligence community. This gentleman, the poster on Twitter, Paul, says traitors. He calls them traitors. Rigged debate, which, you know what? I get it. It is so hard not to call these people what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you signed a letter and then basically Biden's popularity rose because a lot of people bought into that Hunter Biden's laptop was disinformation, Russian disinformation. Yeah. They couldn't catch on that hoax after hoax after hoax. You know, it's no different than Wile E. Coyote. Okay, this time I'm going to get the Roadrunner, and people just fall in, over and over and over. And here we are again. This obviously has been disproven. And one of the moderators for the first debate of 2024 presidential debates has a direct involvement with an individual, meaning she sleeps with the man, their husband and wife. Yes. And this is what Trump. So when Bongino talks about 3 versus 1, it definitely is. These folks are going to try to, do what I believe Trump knows. So here's what I think that I'd like to bring up here. And this is something, Ryan, that I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, is that you've got Trump being Trump, going into this debate, knowing what the odds are, what do you think his advisors are telling him? Because I find it fascinating. Bongino obviously was out giving a little bit of advice. There's many pundits and many opinionators and many conservative talking heads that believe that they have the best information or the best way of approaching this debate. What do you think is the best way for Trump to go into Thursday
Well,
nights?
I think he has to ignore the 34 convicted felony thing that Biden's going to continuously throw at him. Like, look, don't vote for this convicted felon. I think that's going to be Biden's attempt at trying to get him riled up and off his game. I think if Trump nails him on the economy and nails him on the border and the fact that the laptop is real, stick to the main issues attacking Biden and how horrible he's done as a policy guider and what he's done to the country. He has to ignore the jabs. I mean, this is going to be a debate that's going to be forgotten by the time November comes, whether who did good or bad. But if he can stay to, hey, you suck and your policies have failed this country. And the example was, look at my 4 years, look at your 4 years. And here's the obvious difference. You have destroyed this country and I'm going to bring it back to where we had it.
I saw that Lauren Ingram.
The insults. That's what he should do.
That's right. So, well, the insults, the J6 thing, all of the hoaxes, because everything that they have done is a hoax.
Yeah.
Adam Kinzinger is a joke. It's almost laughable. And that Adam resided here in McLean County, was a former McLean County board member, and the fact that we have that obviously we are the hometown for Adam Kinzinger.
If I ever got the chance, I'd like to ask Adam, instead of weaseling your way out of your district that was redrawn, why not fight to keep it as a Republican district?
Well,
I'm just saying, but he ran to CNN instead because he bowed out.
There's a whole bunch there, but getting back to Trump, obviously, and what is going to be the best approach. Laura Ingram brought up some points. Here Trump has an opportunity because Trump is somewhat entertaining. We've seen that out on the campaign trail, especially at any one of these rallies. The guy brings the audience in, and he has moments of great humor. I mean, he's a funny guy, and he can be, and to make light. And the other thing that I think that somebody suggested was to get out ahead of it. So if he has an opening statement, boy, I think you just bring it out on the table and say, you know what, this is what these folks are going to talk about tonight. And I would say these folks, meaning including the people that he's always called fake media. I would include Dana and Jake and it is Jake Tapper, right?
Yeah. He's the one that
I started thinking that. Who's the other guy that I always get him confused with? You got Jake Tapper, and who was the guy that was constantly in the press room?
Jim Costa.
Oh, Jim Costa. Thank you. I always want to call Jake Tapper Jim Costa. I think they are interchangeable. Maybe they are. It's like Inspector Gadget, you pop off their head, you put them on the little thing, their arm stretches out,
And Potato Head too, Brian Stelter.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I don't see how I could confuse Brian Stelter with Jake Tapper or Jim Acosta. But you basically point out that, I know tonight's going to be not easy. As the title of the show says, Trump is boldly walking into a rigged debate. I would get that out on the front end. I wouldn't necessarily call it a rigged debate. I would say, I understand tonight there are going to be three people who have a lot of information that they want to share with you about me.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to call me an extremist. They're going to, in the immortal words of what did I see today? Was it Schiff or one of them that said, oh, well, he's going to put me in jail. Well, yes, he should put you in jail. You are a criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you're going to, you as Jack Posobiec said, and he has this new book out, just remember, there's something called recidivism. And that's right. Reciprocity. That's what it was. I saw recidivism. That's actually, you've made a turnaround in your life. That's the opposite of reciprocity. Thank you.
Do to them as they've done to you. You have to play them at their game because they're not going to give in. We've talked about this before. Democrats are not going to give. And the only way you stop them is you go after them the same way they did to you. You have to. But
And
obviously, legally, you can't. You don't want to play their game
well,
of just throwing convictions at the wall. But you go at them with the same intensity they come at you because they're not going to
that's
stop.
right. Well, you just hold them accountable for what has
Yeah.
happened. I
Yeah.
mean, everything has been documented, verified. Now we understand the 51 intelligence agents who signed on to this letter that basically Biden made a big part of his 2020 debate stage appearances when he was running. Well, obviously, was able to figure out how to get into the Oval Office. There you go. That was a kind way of saying the election was rigged. But I do believe that, without the negative tone of appearing to be a victim, because he's not. Obviously, if
Yeah.
he's a victim, he wouldn't be walking into this debate that's rigged. And
Yeah.
it is a rigged debate
But he
because
needs
I
to
just
point out, the obvious disadvantage he has with 3 individuals who have tried to attack him, calling him a Nazi
yeah.
and this, that, and the other thing. If this debate was moderated by, say, Tucker or Joe Rogan or somebody completely neutral, there'd be a fair shot at getting some substance out of this. But there's no substance in any of these media debates.
Well, and I think by pointing those things out, say, hey, these people have all been part of this attack on Donald Trump over the time. And this should show you that I'm willing still, after knowing what I know, I'm willing to step into this arena, onto stage with these folks. And believe me, I believe that Joe Biden will be on stage. He will probably be, as he was during the State of the Union address, he will be at the top of his game as much as he can be at the top of it. That's part of going to Camp David. That's part of getting the rest. I mean, you and I know this. It's just a human factor, or unhuman factor, as Jack Posobiec has written a book about, because I believe Joe
Yeah.
Biden to be an unhuman.
Yeah.
If you get rest, and you try to decompress, and then you get enough information to be ready for
Yeah.
a specific date, because he's absolutely done nothing in the last
Yeah,
you know
which
weeks.
has standard operating procedures for the most of his presidency. He's had a light schedule, but I'm just curious, what kind of color Gatorade will be drinking this week as he prepares? Is it
Well,
gonna be orange?
well, the cocktail, and who knows? Like I
Yeah,
said,
but it's a
obviously,
whole week to prepare
there's that's right. He's had a whole week to prepare.
for a
Yes,
19th
I
debate.
believe there is some type of stimulant that the man will be ingesting. Uh, who knows what that is? I know there will never be they will never submit to a drug test
No.
before and after, and that's just that's what we're up against. Which gets back to my point.
Yep.
Trump is walking into this, boldly walking
Right in the
into this
lion's
debate.
den. Yep.
That's right, just like Daniel,
Yep.
into the lion's den. He is boldly taking on. And so there's a part of that that should show that courage and that boldness. But at the same time, I don't think he should give up the opportunity to basically dictate the direction, which I think he's going to. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you what Trump's going to do. I
Right.
get it. They probably have got a series of different maps that they've handed to Trump. Trump has probably been versed by some of the best. They probably
Sure.
know, the questions obviously were given to Joe Biden, because that's part of the rules. Joe wouldn't do the
Yeah.
debate without knowing what the questions are. So they're going to try to attack Trump. But before they start to go on the offensive, I think Trump needs to come out of the gate, go on the offensive, lay out basically what their argument's going to be, because
Yeah.
once again, we know that the people on the other side of the aisle, the progressive Marxist, Bolsheviks, communists, they accuse you of always doing what they have been doing over and over and over. It's funny. Speaking of Adam Kinzinger, I heard him give this this dissertation, or this whatever it was, about basically saying about calling Trump and defining Trump as the person that he is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, down to a T, you know. In fact, they even threw the big N word in there. And I'm not talking about that N word. I'm talking about the narcissist, because and the other N word is Nazi. Isn't it funny that the N word, which I always have said is an offensive word, now has taken on a whole new meaning, because the N word can be narcissist. It can be Nazi. I think calling someone a Nazi, is just
it's really strange, considering he has a Jewish son-in-law, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Which is really odd. Somebody who's racist and a Nazi probably wouldn't associate with anybody who is Jewish.
Well, and our audience probably knows this, because they've heard me talk about it before, is that they wanted to call Mary Miller a Nazi too. And they also wanted to call her a racist, xenophobic, homophobic.
You blot out that noise, because by definition we are absolutely none of these things. And Trump getting back, you have to ignore that when he gets up there and says you're racist, you're xenophobic, you're a Nazi,
he goes on the
hate black people. Just ignore it.
And the JB Pritzker diatribe. But what I started saying about Mary Miller is, Mary Miller has, I think, at least 2 or 3 of her children have married Haitian men, or Haitian or black men.
Right.
And it was funny, because they were calling her a Nazi and a racist, and here she has this marquee of a family photo, and it's very obviously not consistent with being a Nazi or a racist. And that's the point, is that Trump isn't any of the things that they're calling him, or any of the things they're going to accuse him of. So remaining cool, you had mentioned that. I believe that Trump has that ability to turn it on and off. I think he will be very measured.
I think the microphone muting will help both sides, honestly, because they won't be able to cut each other off from saying, let Joe Biden speak. Let the man bumble and fumble his way to an answer and glitch. Let him do it. Don't interrupt him. Part of the problem I had with Trump last time in the debates is that he cut him off. Let this man hang himself with the rope that he gets. And you'll see it. The audience knows it. It's not a cheap fake. You'll see live on Thursday night that this is not a cheap fake. The man can't sit still for 90 minutes and be coherent. It's not going to be edited. It's going to be live on CNN.
Well, it's really interesting, because here's what, and I want to pull this up, because I think this one is about as good as it gets. I think I'm in the wrong place here. Let me get back to it's on the Trump War Room. Do you ever go there, Ryan?
Yeah, I do. Some good stuff.
So in the Trump War Room, I'll quickly, hopefully, be able to get it up here. The Trump War Room. There's a video of Joe Biden, and it's not very long. It's actually, there's a couple here that I'm going to play, but this one in particular is about as precious as it gets. And this is what you're saying. Let Joe Biden be Joe Biden, and let him say, just open his mouth. Because he's going to get tongue tied. He's going to get twisted.
Yep.
And he's not going to be able to complete. Hold on. Let me stop it real quick and get it onto stage here. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to get these things manipulated, but here it is. Joe Biden. I'm going to have to play it a couple times for you, just so you can hear it. But gather this. This is what you're going to get.
Teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
Get the benefit.
Teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit. Don't teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson.
There are benefits to messing with women in America. You marry them, you get great benefits.
Teach
Right.
Donald Trump a valuable lesson.
Teach him.
Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit. We'll teach Donald Trump.
That's a cheap fake, DPB. That's not real. You conspiracy theorist.
I think I could just play that. I think I could just play that and forever. I mean, it is. This is what you could have. This is at his rally the other night because he actually went and did a rally, and of course they had to do the cheap fake that they accused the Republican Party of doing. They had to show the fans or the audience, the supporters, and they took different angles. And of course, the stage was cut down, or the auditorium was cut down, the arena was cut down to a fraction of the size, and they tried to figure out how to get all the camera angles. And I understand this because I've been on campaigns with Darren Bailey, and we try to do it. We tried to put forth the best foot, but at the same time, let the man talk. It's classic because he's not gaining support. There's another video here that I'm going to grab real quick. Because you can't beat this. I mean, if you want to know where middle America, he just said in the middle of America, he was talking. Well, this isn't middle America. This is in the hood, and this is what the hood is saying, and this is the people that Joe obviously is not resonating with. And I'll get it up here in a second. Add to stage. There we go. And here you go. Let's hear what these guys have to say as far as what their belief is of Joe Biden.
It's over, man. Give it up.
Oh, if Joe Biden was here right now, what would you tell him?
Tell him to get out of office, man. He's shit up. He's old. He's falling off of bikes. It's over, man. Give it up.
I tell him, let Trump back in office. He did better for the black culture.
Trump 2024, man.
If Joe Biden was here right now, what would you tell him?
Tell him to get out of office, man. He's shit up. He's old. Falling off of bikes. It's over, man. Give it up.
This ain't middle America, Joe.
Let Trump back in office. He did better for the black culture.
Trump 2024, man.
If Joe Biden was here right now,
this ain't middle America, Joe.
Yeah.
This ain't middle America, Joe. These people are telling you get out of office. And this is consistent. My wife, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but Brandon Strzok, the walkaway movement, obviously Brandon has had a great impact and of course was wrongfully prosecuted and charged in January 6th, but he was able to come out of that. Obviously, it almost cost him his everything, because he was willing to put himself out there for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Brandon went and was interviewing people at a grocery store in the hood, and to hear what people had to say, would just blow you away. We know, and it's funny because when I'm finding people who are still resistant to Trump outside of the hardcore Biden supporters, your people who don't like America, they don't like the Constitution, they don't believe in the American way, but there are plenty of people who would tell you that they are conservatives or Republicans. And whenever someone tells you they're a conservative and you question it, ask them a simple question. How do you define being a conservative? What does it mean to be a conservative view? Because it helps you expand and understand where they're at, because there's plenty of people who are conservative right now who truly are not supporting the only nominee the Republicans have, which is fascinating. So if they're not supporting Trump, then who are they supporting? And what are they supporting? Because that's the essence of the American way. It is, I know it has to be something that causes disconnect for many people to see this man who has risen to the level he has, who has always been in the limelight his entire life as a real estate developer, formerly himself what would be considered a liberal person, a Democrat, a liberal Democrat. Now, later in life, as he grew through that and realized what was transpiring back in, 1988, when he was on Oprah Winfrey's show, realized the country was in trouble. He realized the country was in trouble. Oprah Winfrey asked Donald Trump on her show, will you run for president? And you know what his response was? I'm going to paraphrase it. If things get bad enough, you're right.
Yeah, just might have.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
I believe things are bad enough. And he is the person in the line of fire, obviously the person walking boldly into a rigged debate, walking into a rigged election, walking into a rigged courtroom, walking into a rigged everything, because all eyes are on Donald Trump. Everything is focused on Donald Trump. This is all that the people on the left can truly talk about, is get Trump, destroy Trump.
Yeah. And I think
Nothing
there's things that Trump needs to do his second term that he needs to learn from his first mistakes, the first go around. You know, getting somebody out of the political sphere, jumping into it for the first time, you're going to make mistakes with people who you think were loyal to you and who you could trust. And he trusted some swampers in the first term. And I think getting away from that, he's learned a whole lot about who he needs to have around him. And I think revenge Trump in his second term with no re-election bid on the table, he could go scorched earth and he could have the right pieces in the right place if the people have the loudest voices hold him accountable to that. He's got to stop endorsing some of these rhino candidates that he's been endorsing. He's got to listen to the Mike Lees, the Dan Bonginos, about certain people in the law enforcement sphere, to who to put in those places so that he can root out some of the problems he had come against him. That, and you have to be able to hold the House and the Senate. You got to be able to get control of those chambers to get any of your policies implemented, not just executive fiat. He has to do things the right way in order to have lasting change. That's the mistakes he has to learn from.
Yeah, my wife has said this often. The people who have been calling others Nazis have turned out to be actual Nazis. Those are the ones who are ranting and raving on college campuses to kill the Jews, because killing Jews is, that's such a popular.
Seems like what the Nazis were doing.
That's right. That would be what the Nazis were doing under Hitler. So Ryan, getting back to the preparation of the debate.
Yeah.
Obviously, very little information comes out in regards to, getting Biden to say anything other than whatever that was. I almost want to go back and play it for 8 seconds again. Middle America.
Well, I've got a list of 10 rules that they've agreed to. Now, I didn't write these. I don't know if these are something you can tell were coming out of CNN, or because they did have their own set of rules that they agreed to, obviously. But let me read these 10 rules.
Is this like a David Letterman moment?
And
David Letterman's 10.
Yeah,
the 10,
there's 10 rules for the debate that they agreed to.
Are we going to start with 10? Are we going to start with number 10?
You know what? Let's do it. Number 10.
Okay, go ahead.
This is your list of 10 rules. And you guys out there that are commenting and listening, see if this feels like it's legit or something that you would agree to yourself. Number 10. Trump must agree to drop out of the presidential race and go to jail. Seems reasonable.
You're kidding.
Number 9.
Okay.
The debate will end after 12 minutes or when Biden falls asleep, whichever comes first.
Okay.
Number 8. White House reserves the right to have the role of Biden played by Tom Hanks just in case. Number 7. Candidates can phone a friend unlimited amount of times, just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but with dementia.
Well, I love that show. That was a show that I actually would sit down and watch. Was because that was called. You would have a lifeline and you could call a friend.
Yeah, I agree with that. Number 6.
Number 6.
Each candidate will be allowed one IV infusion line for drugs. Smelling salt also must be allowed and available. One per candidate. Can you imagine an IV bag just dripping on Biden's left side or right side as he's going through? Maybe orange for Gatorade. Number 5. The only network allowed to carry the debate is Al Jazeera. Fair and balanced. Number 4. No one can ask any questions about the economy, inflation, Afghanistan, Gaza, the border, crime, Ukraine, Hunter, Ashley, campus protests, Title IX, or any other topic in existence. Seems fair. Number 3.
Number
The
3.
debate, number 3 must be held in a remote location with no chance of any witnesses, like a WNBA game. Oh, did you? Number 2, Biden must be allowed to sniff the hair of the moderator before the debate. No exceptions, not even for Jake Tapper. He must be allowed to sniff Jake.
So he gets to sniff both Jake and Dana.
And Dana. Yeah, no holds barred.
No sniffing.
And number 1,
Number
Biden's
1.
microphone must be edible. The flavor can be either chocolate chip or mint chip. And
That's
these are your
like
10
the ice
rules
cream.
for the debate.
Classic. I actually thought you were going to go through the 10 rules, because I know there has to be more than 10 rules. Interesting.
That, of course, was
Obviously,
by the credit to them.
You brought up such good points there, because I know that we're making light of the situation, but it truly is. I find it fascinating that people question whether this is a rigged debate, because it's a rigged debate. Dana Bash's husband
Is one
Jeremy
of the intel,
was
right?
one of the 51 intelligence agents
Seems
who
legit.
signed off on a
spouse.
letter
Mhm.
that now has been found to be, obviously, like everything else, the Russian hoax, the PP hoax, every other thing that they have brought against the man, Donald J. Trump, to be, fantasy island, the land of make-believe. We know Alvin Bragg had to circumvent the law and create laws in his own state, because he couldn't do it on a federal basis, had to do it in a state court. So when you say it's not rigged, then what do you call rigged? I mean, there's documented proof. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, over and over again showing their bias. It's rigged because you can have the same rules. Have you ever seen the left, the progressive Marxist Bolshevik left, operate under the rules? When have they operated under the rules? Like the Dukes of Hazzard, and old Boss Hogg. There are no rules. The rules are made up by them. Trump agreed to the rules. You're right, because Trump came out and said it. I will do a debate anytime, any place, anywhere. No, that's the same thing. Any place, anywhere. There is a third one in there, whatever that is.
Anytime,
but Trump said,
place, anywhere, or any,
and I will take it. I'll take on the challenge, because ultimately, it really is on them to bring. They're going to have questions, right? They're going to continue to go after the J6 thing, which obviously now is going to continue to find its way. We understand it was a Fedsurrection, that this was propped up. Nancy Pelosi denied the Capitol Police the ability to have support through the National Guard. Trump asked for the National Guard to be present. I was physically in the Washington, D.C. on J6. I watched it with my own eyes. See, it's one thing to have just watched it through the lens of CNN, MSNBC, and there's another thing called the lens of the human eye. And see, your eyes don't usually deceive you unless the mind has been rewired in a manner, which is what our propaganda media tries to do. There's a reason we call it programming. They program you to think what they're saying. Do I need to break it out again? Jeremy Bash explained to you exactly what the propagandists have continued to do to try to nail him with something. And truly, I think, Bongino brought up a good point a couple weeks ago on his show. Why is it that there wasn't pushback from Putin in regards to so many different things that Biden has just laid out there? And ultimately, we know that Biden and Putin have always been very intimate in so many different ways, because they operate in the ring of the corruption.
Yeah. Remember the famous
Vladimir Putin is a corrupt man.
Yeah, the reset
Zelensky is a corrupt man. Xi is a corrupt human being. Biden is equally as corrupt.
Yep.
And when you have all of these factors, all these individuals who walk in the darkness of life, who walk in the corruption, they have nothing to do. They have, I should say, their goal ultimately is not the betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
It's not a better world that they seek. It's more power.
Yeah.
It's more money. It's more control. It's more dominance. And that's what we're really up against. This is what you and I, the common folk, the whatever Joe Biden called us, middle America.
Yeah.
The middle America. Yeah, the middle America. This is who we are. And we know what we're fighting for. And the bottom line is Ryan and I obviously continue to come here to this podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 on Rumble, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. I love it when they say formerly Twitter. I'm getting to the point where I'm just calling it X. Why? Because Twitter was the other platform that limited free speech. So no, I am going to call it X. And then Facebook, which is, token. I got to do what you got to do. Hopefully soon we can be off of Facebook and just be exclusively Rumble. Hopefully Truth Social breaks into the platform of StreamYard and we can be on Truth Social, but X, Truth Social, and Rumble would be a great place where freedom lovers, patriots are able to come out and get this kind of content and educate some of our friends on the left who might find their way home. I know it's tough, but if we put down a trail of graham crackers, hopefully they will find their way home, because ultimately a nation, as President Lincoln quoted out of the Bible, and that's where he quoted it from, a nation that stands divided cannot stand. A divided nation cannot stand. It won't stand. We are the divided nation of the United States right now. We are strictly divided. And it saddens me to say that, we used to have and we still do. I do believe this. And as I alluded to, it's the modern day programming through the mainstream legacy media that continues to try to program you in your mind into believing this fantasy, this unreal picture of what America is today.
Yeah.
You were going to say something. I thought I saw you're on the edge of your seat.
No, I'm just doing some background stuff for a little bit later on. But
wow, that's pretty good. So you're working. So Ryan, I feel like I'm on stage with Kevin Ferris again. Kevin's out there. Kevin used to sit across the way, and I'd say, Kevin, what are you doing over there? The keyboard's going. Are you pulling up something great to share on the DPB show?
Well,
no, DPB, I'm working on show prep. I'm like, well, how about you work on my show prep?
No, right? No, this is for your show. But no, this whole make-believe thing, this idea that we want America to become Europe, or this conglomerate of socialist, Marxist, communist utopia of capitalism is terrible and everybody gets healthcare because it's a right, and everybody gets free college and free phones and free food. But who pays for this? The government doesn't pay. The government doesn't make money. It doesn't take in money. They take in taxpayer money. So ultimately, the taxpayers pay for the things that the government uses. And they have incorrectly used our taxpayer money since the beginning of time. And if you can't see how bad that is, then keep voting Democrat. Now, Republicans are not going to be the answers to all your problems, but the Democrats are going to always cause your problems. That I can be assured.
One of the problems that they definitely have caused, and I know it's going to be a part of the debate on Thursday night. Oh, I got to switch back to both of us on the screen. It was the Ryan Mac show there for a minute. The exclusive Ryan Mac show. One of the things that I know is going to be a big part of it, and I don't know how much it should dominate, but I do believe that it needs to be laid out. This demographic destiny, and for those of you that don't quite gather that, my wife's got a great quote. I'm going to put it up. Demographic destiny is the replacement theory. And yes, we know it's true because now we know in the state of Illinois that you can get a driver's license as an illegal immigrant that looks like Brian's driver's license, my driver's license, and you can truly take that and register to vote. Do you know, Ryan, that it's not a crime in Illinois to register to vote?
It's not. It's only a crime to vote actually on the day, right? Like it's
or early
you,
vote. It's a crime to vote if you are not a legal United States citizen. If you don't qualify,
but not a crime to register.
It's not a crime to register. But my point is that immigration is going to be a part of the discussion. And part of the immigration is, hold on, let me add this to stage, is Tom Homan, who spoke here in McLean County, which is central Illinois, where I'm reside in. And Tom does a great job of laying this out. And as you can see there, it says, inside Biden's Camp David debate prep. Officials on Mr. Biden's campaign believe that the debate will provide an opportunity to go on the offensive on issues like immigration. How does Biden go on the offensive when it's been on every news channel, you know, the carnage, the death at the hands of illegal immigrants, of 12-year-old girls, of a mother of 5? I mean, you know, I was kind of thinking about this the other day and reflecting back on all the craziness that went on around George Floyd.
Yeah.
And yet here we have, once again, people losing their lives, you know, and where is the outrage? But this particular this particular video is good because it's Tom Homan, and Tom does a great job of just laying this out. And I think he's with Kaylee McNamee, and let's just go ahead and play it. I just have to get to the screen to make it a little bigger. Kaylee McNamee, there we go.
Look, he took the most secure border.
Oh, what happened? Get back up there.
You clicked and held on the screen.
Oh my goodness gracious! See, this is always good. There it is. Hold on, I'll replay it then.
There we go.
Look, he took the most secure border in my lifetime and unsecured it on purpose. And I get your emotion. Look, everybody asks why I'm so emotional on this issue. Look, I've talked to young girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by criminal cartel members. I've held dying children. I've held dead children. I've talked to hundreds of angel moms and dads. I know every one of their names and every one of their stories, and their stories are difficult. No parent should bury their child. The administration has blood on their hands. If Trump was president, this likely wouldn't have happened because we had the Remain in Mexico program, we ended catch and release, and ICE was able to do their job. This administration bears the brunt of this.
Yeah, and it does. And it does bear the brunt of it as it's going to be, you know, as the headline was talking about. He can go on the offensive of that. How does he go on the offensive? Which lends us to believe that they have a lot in store. 3 against 1, as we talked about. My wife got the Matthew 12:20-25. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. And that's true. We will not stand. Many states have made it legal for illegals to vote in local elections.
Yeah, think about that for a minute. They can't vote federal elections, so they won't be able to determine the president, the vice president, and the federal offices, but they'll be able to control your town leaders, your county leaders, and your state leaders. To think about that. Illegals who are not here correctly in this country are going to be able to control who runs your towns over you. That's what they want. It starts local. All politics are local.
Yeah. And which it gets back to the point that they are truly trying to shift the congressional maps and the electoral college, because ultimately their game is they'd love to see the popular vote. Why do they love the popular vote so much? Because they know that they can try to flood the zone by
Yeah.
opening the border.
Yeah.
Why do they want to flood the court, the Supreme Court? Because they want to be able to have control.
Yeah.
These folks are, like you said, Ryan, they are from the government and they're trying to be here to help you. And
Mhm.
those should be the scariest words you've ever heard,
Yeah.
because the government doesn't do anything other than secure our common defense.
Yep.
Pretty basic about what the duties of the federal government are. In fact, they're not even supposed to be involved in so many of the state issues,
Yep.
which gets back to what you're saying, Ryan. How
Mhm.
many states can they accumulate? How
Yep.
many jurisdictions, townships, municipalities can they control? They're already running the table in most of the larger cities, and we
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
has happened in those cities.
Yep.
Those cities are right now on fire. They are basically
Yeah.
the New York City, the movie with Snake Plissken,
Yeah.
Escape from New York. They've
Yeah.
turned into just basically well, I can't say it. I won't say it, and then I'm not doing a Joe Biden. I just don't want to use
Well,
inappropriate
it's the
language.
same thing that in the argument they use, well, they blame Republicans for some of these states going to hell. I had somebody comment the other day when I went after Pritzker for his financial mess of Illinois, and somebody said, "Well, Ronner destroyed the economy." I'm like, Ronner had a 4-year term and it was landlocked by Democrats in the state General Assembly. Democrats have run the state for decades plus, and you're going to blame one guy who had 4 years of really nothing. So no, I'm sorry, but when you've got about a 50 to 60-year run of these cities in Democrat control, there's no one else to blame.
Well, Ryan, I think this is a good point to put this up on stage. There it is, right there. Let
Yeah.
me go ahead and fix
There you
it
go.
because it's a
Get
little
you a Trump
offline.
sign.
Get your Trump sign. Get your Trump campaign sign. I sat down with the gentleman last night, and I'm going to get to his book here in a second. But I sat down with this gentleman last night, and we were talking about these Trump signs, and he said, "Wouldn't those Trump signs that you guys are going to put out 3,000, which is my goal, is to put out 3,000 signs? Wouldn't they be better in Wisconsin?" And I told him, I said, I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people want to just say that Illinois really is not going to be a state, and if Trump wins Illinois, there's no question that Trump wins the presidency, right? We get that.
Yeah.
It's not a swing state, and it would be great if Trump did win Illinois. But
Mhm.
the reason why we're trying to sell or to get donations for the Trump signs, the Trump 2024 signs, is to not only put that messaging out there that Illinois is a place where we believe in making America great again, but not only making America great again, just returning to the way of Illinois, the land of Lincoln.
Yep.
And getting Trump's name out there is important. And not only is it important, but it helps all the down ballot races. And with the donations we will receive here locally in Central Illinois, you can get yard signs for $10, 4x4s for $75 donation. You can go out to the McLean County Republican website and reserve your sign. We'll actually bring that to your home. We're talking about possibly doing three. Let's see, what is it? It's one sign for $10, and I think it was 3 for 25, something like a bargain. But getting as many signs out there, because with the donations, we stand an opportunity to raise a significant amount of money that can help these local elections.
Yeah.
We have locally elections where candidates need support. And if we could have an influx, so now we're basically pivoting. We're truly utilizing the coattails of Donald J. Trump and his race for the presidency to help stimulate some money to the local races. And that's what I believe. So I was telling this gentleman about it, and he said, I get it. for that reason alone, I would say it's a good idea. He goes, you shouldn't have to take your signs up to Wisconsin and donate them to the people in Wisconsin, especially if, people might still want to take and order a few signs and donate them to somebody in Wisconsin or in Michigan.
Yeah.
But having those signs here will benefit
Yeah.
the
It
Trump
sends a
vote.
message that we're not done giving up.
That's right. And so wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. Go out to the McLean County Republican site. That's where you can get these. Let's see if I can get the replay. It's right up there on their homepage. You'll see it says Trump Yard Signs 2024. It goes through the entire thing. You can just click on it. It's got a QR code and you put in your address. Granted, you're giving the information to the McLean County Republican Party. And McLean County Republican Party is not going to sell your information. We believe people who are going to make a donation for a Trump sign are people who are supporting the cause of making sure that we save our country. And we know that this is without question. There has never been an election like this. And I say that we've had plenty of elections. Obviously, we have put 46 people into the presidency of the United States over the history of our country. The 47th president is basically going to dictate whether we remain the country that was founded on the principles of all men are created equal and they are endowed by their creator, and that their rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness come from their creator, God, and not from the government. Another thing, the gentleman I was telling you about that I sat down with last night has a book out there. It's a good read. I've got a copy for you, Ryan. If you would like an autographed copy, I don't know if that's coming through as clear.
Yeah.
But this book is called The Term Limit Revolution. I have read it now a couple times. The interesting part about this book is if you can see the cover, sorry, let me get that back off there. That's the Trump sign. If you can see the cover, it is a nice little graphic or a little artistic cover of Nancy Pelosi. Looks like Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, and I can't quite get the other gentleman that's in there with "We the People" behind them saying "Get out, go away," and it's because the 83% of the people who ran from Congress last time around won. 83%. If your record is 83% to keep your position, we've got problems. It says at the bottom, this book is by Scott Murphy. He is a local gentleman. This is his passion, Article 5, the Convention of States, which once again takes it back to the states to decide. But a citizen's guide to why we need term limits and a simple strategy for getting them. Scott said that this is what Donald Trump needs to do. He needs to have a copy of his book, and I'm going to try to make that happen. And he needs to, and I've got a few copies, and he can, donate, get $250 donations for him. But he holds this book up and says, this right here, folks, is checkmate to the Democrats because they can't refute it. We need term limits. We need to have a convention of states. We need, right now, I think they're at something like 23 states, and to ratify a Article 5, they need 2/3 of the states to sign on. And the people, it's in the high 80. Well, it's in the high 80 percentile of people that have been surveyed said that they want term limits. Part of the reason we're where we're at, where there is the great division, the great divide in our country, is because we have this revolving, well, it's not a revolving door. We have this policy that basically says once you're in Congress, it almost takes an act of God to get you out of Congress. Or and obviously when it comes to a Republican congressman, all it takes is that somebody decides to pull the vote and we vote you out, whether gentleman was justified in what he was doing, it doesn't matter. The Democrats are never going to concede a seat in the House of Representatives. But the book is The Term Limit Revolution. My friend Scott Murphy is the author. It's a good book. If it's something that you would be interested in, let me know. I could possibly get you a copy. I'm going to continue to promote the book because it's something near and dear in my heart. It's the reason I ran against Dan Brady twice, was to get Dan Brady out of office. 20 years is way too long. And what did we accomplish other than Dan was a big supporter of that gas tax that's going to reset again here July 1st. Now it's going to be up to 47 cents on every gallon in Illinois is a part of the gas tax.
And they're going to make up with that. So that's going to add even more at the gas pump, because companies are not going to just take that gas hit. So they're going to pass it on to us.
Yeah. I don't know what I just did there, but I hit a button again. Well, there you go. It must be at the end of the hour, Ryan. If I start hitting buttons, if I start punching buttons and we're losing distance, let's see what we have real quick before we jump off line today. Your beautiful wife says, the government can respectfully go suck a duck. Okay, there you go. Go suck a duck.
She's never a loss of words.
Irma, thanks for joining me today. Truth, I got mine. I love it. My beautiful wife says Illinois is a red state. They cheat. I agree. And Berwin Bob, we the people. It got a good ring. Bob says that we had talked about renaming the DPB show, and I am giving it some real strong consideration, Ryan.
There you go.
And Bob thinks we should name it We the People. There is a show on Rumble that Dan Bongino shared the other day, and it's an upcoming show. I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember the name of it? I think I hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up. But these guys are pretty interesting. Let me see if I can quickly hit it up, because I saved it the other day. The big recap.
Oh, yeah.
The big recap. They've got about one. Now, the other day when I was on their page, the big recap, go out to Rumble. The big recap had about 800 followers. You know, one time on Dan Bongino, and they're up to 1.2 thousand followers. Go and listen to them, because I was kind of impressed. They're three guys, and they're just going back and forth. And they actually have a show 4 days ago that says Bongino is the GOAT. But go out there, the big recap, give them a like, just like the DPB show, or soon to be We the People show. I like that. I don't know if there's a trademark on that or a copyright on that. The Constitution probably isn't copywritten. So we might be able to use We the People. And there you go, Ryan. We the People. And if we could get one more person in here, you know who I'd love to have active with us for an hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Kat Peterson.
Absolutely.
If we could get Kat in here, she would bring obviously
if she wasn't so busy saving the planet one article at a time and busting butt in Springfield, maybe she'd have time to come on for an hour.
Well, we're going to try to encourage her to start doing that. Then we might officially rename the show We the People.
There you go.
WTP.
There you
not
go.
The WTF or the World Wrestling Federation, the WWF, the WTP. The WTP. I can see it now. All right.
There you go.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. Continue to go out there, subscribe, share it with friends. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be back because, as Ed Sullivan says, it's going to be a really big show on Thursday, because it is going to be on the doorstep of what could be, who knows, a debate that is the debate of the century. So we're all looking forward to it. Once again, I love you. Thank you for being here with us, and we will look forward to seeing you on Thursday. But don't forget, Jesus loves you more. And until Thursday, I bid you guys farewell.